Alrighty, what are we making today, Ryan?
Hey everybody, today we're making the DIY card holder kit. This is the final product here, your card holder. You got your slot in your front, a little bit in the back, and the center there with the easy finger groove to pull your cards out. So your kit's going to come with the middle of the wallet, the outside of the wallet. It's going to come with a sewing kit, 2 needles and thread, a piece of sandpaper to glue and help finish the edges. And finally, when that's all done, we're going to burnish the edge with this little leather cube square thing. And of course, the Popov Leather Balm. Creamy, dreamy, and fantastic. So follow along and we'll go step by step here. First, we're going to scratch this, or scratch this, whatever you like to say, with our sandpaper. This front piece we're going to use as a template, so check this out. Line it up. And we don't want to scratch anything we're not gluing, so we're going to glue this front piece here. And this is going to allow the glue to adhere to the actual leather component of the leather, rather than the surface, which is waxy. And see that change of color? That's what we're looking for here. And scritch, 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 scritch to the back. And this side goes all the way to the top. Check this out.
So the reason you're scritching it is because the front of the leather is called the grain side, and the back of the leather is called the flesh side. The flesh side typically isn't finished. That's where it's normally split. So when you put glue on the flesh side, it welds pretty easily. But when you put it against the grain side, which is the front where it's finished, all the waxes and tallows actually prevent the glue from welding. So when you scratch it, you reveal the flesh of the leather. So then, when you apply the glue, they'll weld and stick together.
The only thing that doesn't come in this kit is your glue. So you can use the standard craft glue if you need to. Just check on the back to see if it works with leather or not, but most of them do to some degree. And so we're going to carefully apply it without getting in the holes. Just a thin bead will do. And we'll smear it again with our finger thereafter. That's pretty decent here. We'll do this side. There we go. So once the front is glued on, we'll be able to glue this side and squeeze it together. So let's place it carefully. And we don't want the holes to line up. Just check the edges. Give it a good squish and good squeeze.
So this step is really important to get the edges aligned. So what Ryan's doing here is he's matching up the corners of the piece. So see the 2 corners there that he's got? It's very important to match those up perfectly, and then the edges should align. If you have your pieces not lined up together, you can have a hard time gluing and finishing the edges.
A nice straight edge around the corner, straight edge. The more time you put into gluing, the less time you'll have to finish it. So let's go ahead, without undoing what we've already done, carefully we'll glue another bead here. And the point of the gluing, not only does it hold the wallet together, but during the stitching process, you won't have to wrestle with the wallet to keep it in place. And once we use a saddle stitch, the wallet won't be coming apart anytime soon. The beauty of the saddle stitch is, because it's continuous, not like a machine stitch, even if it gets cut or broken for whatever reason, the whole thing won't come undone. Look at that nice bead. And again, not getting glue in the holes, that'll just make it harder to sew. Beauty. I'm satisfied with that. Look at that. So let's give it a squanch. And if there's anything that's not aligned, this is your last chance to kind of squish it into place here. Next, we're going to move over to the sewing, the 2 needles and the thread. I'm going to show you how to thread the needle properly here so it doesn't come undone. Okay, first of all, this is your tiger thread. So this is a premium thread that you can use for sewing your wallet here. First thing you can do is just take your thread and just get rid of any squiggles or turns so it's nice and straight. That's nice. That makes it much easier to put through the needle. Thread the needle, push it through, pull it, give it almost a needle's length. There you are. And you're going to stab it through the thread itself. And you want to leave a little bit of room here. See this? On account that if you don't have enough space at the end, after you threaded that, it might just pull through. So let's do the other side the same way. Pull it through. And one more just for show. Stab it through. Pull it, and there you go. So here we're gonna take your two needles and make sure they're equally apart here. So we'll pull. We're pulling. Make sure they're the same length. We don't want to have one that's longer than the other, because by the time you get to the wallet, you're gonna have to turn it around and start from scratch. You're gonna take this one and stick it through. And every time you stick it through a hole here, you never want to puncture the other thread, so be careful. And I'll show you how to do that. So this again, see how I'm holding this thread with my finger? The tension helps it from stabbing through because the thread is snugged in the hole. We don't want them to cross over the top. I looked over twice for security to keep the wallet together. And now that tension's holding, and it's going to help set us up for success as we go all along this channel. Okay. So follow me here. So we're going to go through, pull it, and let it drop. Then you're going to take the bottom one, and see how my finger pulls this one down? Just put it through on top.
Let's see. Okay, pull. Let's see that.
That again, this one goes forward, and it drops down. The next one gets pulled up, while this one gets pulled down. If you're always pulling the one down, that just went through, like this, then you'll never have to worry about the threads crossing and having a strange stitch pattern. And it's that simple.
So this is a saddle stitch. So the needle goes in through both sides in the same hole. So the same hole will have two needles pass through either direction.
So this is it in fast motion. And I'll slow it down again just to show you. Once you get the muscle memory, it's very easy. So from the back to the front and down. This one comes up, this one gets held down. From the back to the front and dropped. And notice as I'm pulling this thread to go back through, I'm taking out any turns. If there's any spiral in there, I'm taking it out so it doesn't turn.
Right, you're keeping the thread flat.
Exactly. And after your 5,000th wallet, you'll get it.
So the needles that we use and the needles that come in the kit are called harness needles. And they're not like regular hand stitching needles. They're purposely dull, so you don't poke yourself. And they slide through the leather a lot easier. If you use something really sharp, you're going to get caught on the thread. And it's going to get caught in the leather as well and potentially scratch it. So that's why we use needles like this.
And this is quite evident here. If you have any glue in these holes, while sewing you'll get hung up. That's why we're so careful when we're gluing and putting it together so that it's a quick and easy stitch. You don't want to have to pull too hard on these. That being said, every time I am sewing one hole to the next, I'm making sure I'm completing each turn with constant tension. Tension, and then pull.
Do you think we could just do the last few holes nice and slow, just
Yep.
in case people didn't get the first one? So turn the wallet maybe towards me, just like that. That's the other way. Just like that. It's perfect. Just so we can see how the needle comes through. Nice and slow. That's awesome. I remember when I first started, I had to watch a YouTube video at least 20 times before I understood how this is. It's just something we take for granted now. We've done it so much.
So now that we're to the end, we check our stitch. So you don't have to backtrack. All even. There's no little threads poking out anywhere. You haven't stuck this needle through the other thread accidentally and caused a scene. Check the other side. Looking pretty good. So we're going to finalize it. Whenever we stitch a wallet here, Popov, we're going to do a back stitch, and I'll show you how to do that right now. This guy's going to go through and around, and we'll keep that tight. See that? Likewise, this guy through and around. And we don't want the crossing over. We want it nice and straight. Like that. And because we want both of our burns of our needles to be on the back side of the wallet, this guy's going to go through the other side here. So everyone check this out. We have this wrapped around twice. You have two threads here. What ends up happening is This is going to hold the tension in, and we're going to snip this thread quite close and melt the threads into the holes here, couch them into these holes. So I'm holding the tension on the threads while I cut them. It helps for depending if your scissors are dull or not. And we're going to try to get decently close, but not too close. And I'll show you why here in a sec. Check that out. See these nub lubs? We're going to melt these, and I'll show you in a second as soon as I grab a lighter. Okay, we're ready to burn. Grab your lighter. And we don't want them to catch them on fire. Watch how they melt back. You don't want to burn the leather, so kind of dance with it a little bit. See that? These little blub lubs, and you push them down. That's going to keep the thread from passing through the hole now. Or while it's glued, it's stitched, saddle stitch, and we melted our things. It's ready to go. We're ready to finish it. So grab your sandpaper and let's try to work on the edges here. We're going to start easy. We want it to be nice and flat. If you don't want to do it by hand, I'd recommend putting it on the table like this so it's flat. You want a nice flat, even edge. And go along the edge of the wallet instead of side to side because we want it to be flush. In this process, we don't want to let the sandpaper touch these top threads. We're already starting to see a difference. On the corner, likewise, do one of these. Nice and smooth. We'll do this edge and we'll take a look.
Another important thing is don't press down too hard on the sandpaper. I personally like to do it by just holding the sandpaper on the edges, but you can do it this way if it's easier. The reason you don't want to press down too hard is because you'll start to burn the leather and you'll get some nasty looking burn marks. You can also end up burning the edges and just ruining an otherwise nice looking wallet.
As I finish it off, right here, I'm going to ease up on the pressure like Ryan's saying, just to take off the burrs and the fluffs. You want it to be as smooth as possible here. That looks pretty good. If you have too much glue, you're going to see this little line. We call it a glue sandwich. And this is pretty decent. You're going to just see leather on leather on leather on leather. Perfect. A little touch up here. And then we get to give it a finishing touch. And let's go on to burnishing now, shall we? You're going to grab your burnishing leather square, rectangle, and your leather balm. Deburr it with your hands. We're going to apply some leather balm, and we're going to buff it nice and smooth. It's going to change the color and finish the edge nice.
And the important part of this step is use the grain side of the burnisher piece. So the colored side, not the other side, because you're going to introduce a lot of friction if you use the wrong side. Yeah, you want to use a nice, smooth, shiny side.
I'd like to mention too that even though we're burnishing with this Popov Leather Balm, it's also good for restoring shoes, wallets, anything leather that might be dry or needing a little polish up. You'll notice different leathers too will absorb differently. You want to get this so it looks as though it's moist. And if there's anything you're going to obsess about, it's the gluing and burnishing afterwards, because this is your finishing touch here. Already we're starting to see that change, that nice finished edge. A little bit more. Feel free to use your hand if you like. We're going to grab this. I'm going to just put a tiny extra on here. And here we go. You can kind of think of this process as polishing a little bit. It's quite evident at this stage as to whether or not you've sanded enough, because you'll see the different leather colors here with the leather balm. Here I'm going to give this a touch up, just a tiny one. Any glue that came out from the side is going to stop the leather from taking on leather balm. Nice and smooth. Let's fix that up. And a bit more. And now my favorite is just to hand buff it. You've also got oils in your hands. Anytime you don't have your leather balm, Just rub against your palm like this. There, we're getting better. So let's go back. This is your unfinished edge. This is getting close to your finished edge. There we go. And at this stage, you've pretty much finished your wallet. This is before, and this is after. Nice smooth edge, nice change color, and it's fully polished up with our leather balm. Next step, load it up with cards. You have a front bit for cash if you want to, or another card, or an easy card, perhaps a tap.
Careful of showing your credit card number.
Oh, this is a prepay. It never worked in the first place. And if you want to keep your wallet safe and all your identification safe, buy a wallet gauntlet, shove it in there. It'll protect everything from getting scanned and stolen.
I love all the sly ads we're sneaking into this video. This is great.
And there you have it, a pro wallet.
Nice. Looks great, Ryan.
Thanks, everyone. Enjoy your process and do it safely.